We are back on the campus of Boston College, Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, on a beautiful October night in one of the world's great cities. Jeff Hafley is in his third season as head coach here at BC. The Eagles have lost 11 in a row head-to-head against Clemson, but played them tough the last 2 years under Hafley. Both down at Death Valley, both 6-point losses to Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. Dabo has great memories of this stadium. He earned his first win here against BC back in 2008 when he was the interim coach, the start of a Hall of Fame coaching career that includes 7 ACC championships, a streak of 6 in a row that ended last year when they had, as we sarcastically said, that disappointing 10-3 season. They are a much better football team this year. They won the toss and will receive. As we mentioned, a lovely night, not a cloud in the sky, 55 degrees. Might get down into the high 40s. Not much breeze. But little wind there is will be at the back of Liam Connor as he goes to kick off. And it's a pooch kick, trying to keep it away from Will Shipley, and a fair catch made at the 29-yard line. So here's DJ Uiagalelei. We talk about the improvement of Clemson, particularly on offense, and it really starts with him. Completion percentage up 10% from a year ago. Passing yards per game way up, and last year he threw 9 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. This year 11 touchdowns, only 1 interception, and he's got 103 passes since that only pick against Furman.
Yeah, he's just a different guy, and he trusts the protection this year. The offensive line healthy, much better than a year ago.
Lost about 30 pounds since last year. That helps as well. He's still big Cinco, just not quite as big. And he can hurt you in the running game as well. Each of the last 3 games, he's rushed for at least 50 yards.
And he's a real weapon when it comes to running because he's an interesting runner. He's big and he doesn't juke you, but he does have great vision, so he eludes tackles, and that big body, he's always falling forward. So a very dangerous runner in this Clemson offense.
6'4", down to around 235, a junior from Southern California. Out of the gun as a wide open receiver along the far sideline. Bo Collins, DJ's high school teammate, John Bosco in California, goes into BC territory. He's one of our Chick-fil-A impact players.
Yeah, he along with Will Shipley, 2 offensive standouts. Cam Arnold on defense along with Donovan Ezaraku, 2 guys that really need to play big for this BC defense.
Line up in the pistol now with Shipley right behind the play fake, and it's out wide to Antonio Williams, talented freshman, breaking tackles and running over people at 5'11" and 190 pounds. And the Tigers quickly on the move. They're at the Boston College 33.
When we talk to the Clemson coaches about this young guy, they say he's just mature beyond his years. He makes no mental mistakes. He understands routes. He understands leverage. And he has been an immediate impact player as a true freshman.
That play for 14. The pass play to Bo Collins for 19. Another play fake by DJ, and he checks it down to Davis Allen. And he's bumped out of bounds after a gain of 9. They are also loaded at tight end. Brandon Streeter, the offensive coordinator, says this is the best tight end room that they've had in the last 8 years that he's been on the staff.
Time for Shipley to touch the ball, you would think, here on 2nd and short.
Although hard to argue with how it's gone so far.
No kidding. Just got to spread the wealth, that's all. You know, I mentioned the offensive line, and you can't overestimate this. Last year, they had 7 different combinations in 13 games. So far through 5 games, it's been the same 5 starters. And as a quarterback, you begin to trust, and your eyes stay downfield, and they don't worry about the rush. DJ has great confidence right now in those 5 guys in front of him.
As he should. He did not allow a sack last week in the big win against NC State. Maybe a little too tricky there. The fake in one direction, and then Joseph Ngata on the screen to the near side was dropped immediately by Elijah Jones.
A really quick read by Elijah Jones. The corner He's not fooled. He gets there quick. There's no way they can get a blocker in front of him. Tried to bring the right tackle out, but Jones read that too quickly.
Jones, a graduate student. They have some injuries in the secondary. Both of these teams are banged up. We'll chronicle that as we go. DJ's pass to the near side. Nice diving catch made by another talented true freshman, Adam Randall, 5-star recruit.
Big third down play. Amari Jackson is a true freshman starting at corner tonight because of injuries. He's out top against Bo Collins right now. And this BC defense plays a lot of one-on-one man coverage. There they are up here.
They bring pressure, well protected, jump ball, and a touchdown. No, it came out. And they went right at that true freshman, Amari Jackson, making his first career start. But Bo Collins couldn't hang on in the back corner of the end zone.
It's a perfect throw. I mean, this was not because of the defender. It's just Collins is not able to hold on to it. You can't put the ball in a better spot than DJ did. And that should have been a Clemson touchdown on their first possession.
Instead, they'll settle for a field goal try from B.T. Potter. Fifth-year senior. Dabo Sweeney believes is the best kicker in the country.
He was bombing them in pregame warm-up too.
It's a huge leg. This is a 35-yarder and right down Commonwealth Avenue. Oh, so close to 7 points. But Collins could not hang on all the way to the ground. 3-0 Clemson.
I don't have to say very much right now, and we've said it all week because I know you guys are ready. And I believe you're ready. I saw it in practice, I saw it today, and I felt it in pregame. And you play together, and you stick together, and you believe in one another, and you have energy the whole entire game, no matter what happens. You guys understand?
Yes,
I love this team. Love each other and play that way. Father, you got it.
As brothers, our Father.
Emotional pregame speech by Jeff Hafley, looking for the biggest win of his 3 seasons here at Boston College. They're down 3-0, and after the B.T. Potter touchback, they'll start from the 25-yard line, led by the graduate student quarterback Phil Jerkovic, who's coming off his best performance of the season last week when he threw for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns in their win over Louisville. Only the 3 incompletions, and as Coach Hafley pointed out when we visited yesterday, 2 of them were drops.
Yeah.
He could have easily been 20 for 21. The interception hit the hands of one of his receivers and went straight up in the air. It wasn't his fault. They have injuries at running back. They give it to Zay Flowers immediately, and he's run down from behind by Miles Murphy.
The good news for BC is Jerkovic did play his best game of the season. He has not started off the year the way he hoped, the way the coaches thought he would. Pressing a little bit, maybe protecting himself a little bit. When he's at his best, he is a rugged, tough dude that's going to hang in there, use that big body to take hits and make throws and run the football. And he did that last week for the first time.
64% this year. Is the best of any season of his career. He is pressured immediately by Tyler Davis. And that's what we talked about in the open, Todd. Immediately, the offensive line struggling with this defensive front.
Well, again, Tyler Davis is one of the best in the country, and you better at least try to block him. He was not fooled by the bootleg fake. You try to run those bootlegs knowing this defense can run in pursuit. Try to get him going somewhere else. Tyler Davis was not fooled by the action.
Spoke with Dabo Sweeney earlier in the week and asked, who would you single out as the guys who've played the best for you? Tyler Davis was the first name out of his mouth.
Yeah, he said we're different when he's on the field. We're a different team.
There's some action earlier this season. 3rd down and 12. Good protection for Jerkovic. Running out of time. He bounced off Miles Murphy.
That's what he can do.
Found Zay Flowers for a first down.
That's what he can do. He's a big, strong guy, just like DJ Uiagalelei on the other side. 6'5", 215 pounds. Good protection initially, but then he just doesn't panic. He keeps his eyes downfield, and he's able to find Flowers late in the play and using his strength to get away from the rush.
Good for a 16-yard gain. Pat Garwo is their leading running back. They're without running backs 2, 3, and 4 tonight due to injury. And here's tonight's Chick-fil-A impact players when Boston College is on offense.
Well, we just saw Garwo with the run. Zay Flowers, they've got to get him the ball a bunch of times tonight. Tyler Davis, we've already called his name. And Andrew Makuba, one of their veteran guys in the secondary. And this is a secondary that's missing guys all season. As healthy as the offense has been, the defense has had problems with injuries throughout the first 6 games.
Giving up some long balls. Djokovic stepped away from the rush and has his man again. This time it's Jaden Williams on the crosser, tackled by Makuba. It's a 22-yard gain.
Good protection. This is kind of an unbalanced line. They got an extra offensive lineman in to protect their quarterback for the deep crossing route or the over route. Djokovic with a couple nice completions here on this possession. Coaches told us the offensive line is getting better. They were better against Florida State. They were even better last week.
Garwo, the ball carrier for 2. Kevin Swint made the tackle. Well, Boston College is known for outstanding offensive lines and offensive linemen, and they had a terrific offensive line last year, but they lost 2 first-team All-ACC linemen to the NFL draft, Zion Johnson and Alec Lindstrom. There's Dave Guglielmo, the new offensive line coach. Ben Petrula's been trying out for NFL teams. Tyler Vrabel, 3rd-team All-Conference last year with the Atlanta Falcons. So they put 3 guys from last year's line in the NFL. Pass batted down, then caught by an offensive lineman. Jeremiah Trotter swatted it, and Jack Conley, the right tackle, caught it out of the air.
And Djokovic was just trying to dump it off to his back. He had him, and it was a nice play by Trotter with eyes on the quarterback, able to knock it down. Could have been a whole lot worse there for Boston College, but 3rd down and 9.
Speaking with Jeff Hafley last night, he said, I have to be aggressive. We saw that on the very first play. And we'll take some chances tonight, so could be 4th down territory if they get a little closer. This is probably out of Connor Litton's field goal range. Here comes pressure. There's a throw to the far sideline off the hands of his receiver, Jaden Williams. He's the one who had it clang off his hands last week for the interception. And that's another one that he should have caught, it seemed. Toriano Pride, the true freshman, at coverage.
Well, when we talked to John McNulty, the offensive coordinator, he said, look, I told Phil, if they press us, we're going to take shots down the field. That's what Sam Hartman and Wake Forest did to this Clemson defensive secondary 2 weeks ago. That time it was press on the outside to the field. Djokovic saw it and made a nice throw.
Sam Candotti is their pooch punter. We also have Danny Longman, and that one is beautifully done. Now you know why he's in that role, as that one out of bounds inside the 2-yard line. Beautifully done by Candotti, a true freshman, surprisingly from Australia. What do you know? There are some Australian punters in college football.
Are there any American ones left?
Saturday Night Football on ABC is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
The annual 5K run in memory of Wells Crowther brings people to this beautiful campus from all over the country. And in July of 2018 in Central Park,
920.
a world record, 10,920 red bandanas were tied together by approximately 100 volunteers. Wells Crowther's mom, Allison, is here tonight, tied the final bandana to the link. It measured out more than 2 miles. At 10,982 significant. It's the number of feet of the perimeter of the 4 sides of the World Trade Center towers. On 1st down from their own 1, DJ Uyunglele just tried to power out. Didn't get much. There's Mrs. Crowther, who actually makes it to other home games as well. She and Jeff Hafley become very close. This, when you talk to Jeff Hafley, the players we talked to yesterday, it is incredibly meaningful, and they would like nothing better than to give her the game ball. After the game tonight, Joseph and Gata got them out of the shadow of their own end zone and got a first down out to the 14-yard line, shoved out by Elijah Jones.
That was too much cushion. I mean, you got them backed up, and they were way off on the coverage. That's an easy pitch and catch for DJ Uiagalelei, and a first down and a little breathing room now for Clemson's offense.
DJ's 6 out of 7 passing, pressured after the fake, and he threw an interception. Josh DeBerry picked it off. He had gone 110 passes without throwing an interception. And a great opportunity for Boston College at the Clemson 24.
Well, Cam Arnold came on the pressure. Shipley was not able to get all of him. And DJ made a bad decision. It was zone coverage. It was pressure, a zone blitz. So DeBerry was dropping in underneath coverage and was able to make, here's the pressure here, but DeBerry is not in man. He's going to drift out here in zone. They're bailing out on the corner. It's zone drop by the slot defender, and DJ throws the football right to him. Normally, as a quarterback, if you feel inside blitz, you're thinking man-to-man, but it was a zone blitz, and they fooled DJ that time.
First interception of the year for DeBerry, a veteran leader of this team. Pat Garwo on first down. Chopped down by Barrett Carter.
Both these teams are dealing with injuries, and one of the real injuries we have not mentioned yet for BC, tight end George Takis, who is a grad transfer from Notre Dame. This is where they really miss him. He is a big target in the red zone. His backup is a true freshman, Jeremiah Franklin. Right now they don't even have a tight end on the field. They miss George Takis this part of the field.
Jeff Hafley told us Takis wasn't playing yesterday. He winced. Jurkovec running away, had to get rid of it. Ricochets up in the air and falls incomplete. Miles Murphy deflected it up in the air. It was Rook Orororo who put the pressure and forced Jurkovec to his right.
Rook has played a lot because Tyler Davis has missed games. Brian Brzee is missing his second game in a row. And again, they have depth at that position and NFL caliber talent. And Orororo is kind of fitting right in that mold.
When they're all healthy, he's a backup. He'd be a starter in just about every other team in the country. Third down and 10. They are in field goal range. Jurkovec in the slot and a nice catch. Jalen Gill knocked down short of the first down by about 4 yards. And the field goal team will come out.
Well, you want points after the turnover, right? You're only down 3-0. You've got the takeaway. Come away with points. Tie the football game here. The good news for BC right now is their pass protection for Jurkovec is pretty decent against this Clemson front.
35-yard try for Connor Litton. He's had a little bit of an up and down year, and that one's a down. Missed it wide left. He was 11 out of 12 in field goals last year, but he's now 4 out of 8 this year. That's a concern for Jeff Hafley. Coach told us yesterday, yeah, he was automatic last season. That hasn't been happening this time around. Well, they don't waste any time here, Boston College, after the missed field goal by Connor Litton. Tryouts on the field. Actually, that was a scheduled promotion. The young man made a 25-yard field goal. Connor Litton missed from 35. B.T. Potter's made a 35-yard field goal for Clemson. Tigers back on offense, leading 3-0. Here comes Will Shipley. He got rocked blocked as he got to the 26 by Cam Arnold. Here's Kevin Nagandi.
Good evening, Sean. We got a baseball update, but we're not chasing history here. This is over on ESPN. The Mariners down 8-1 at one point, now up 10-9. Bottom of the ninth, looking to sweep the Jays, and the Mets facing elimination tonight, up 1-0 on ESPN2. Lindor with the home run. Back to you.
A wild day in the baseball playoffs. There's a flag for a false start here against Clemson.
False start, offense number 78, 5-yard penalty, second down.
Adam Savoie, the referee. Your Guardians, I still have a hard time remembering to call them the Guardians. 15 innings before anybody scored, and then we have a 10-9 game going on up there in Toronto. Guardians won on a home run in the 15th inning. I believe there were 11 hits in the game and 39 strikeouts.
Great pitching, I guess.
You had to be. And bad hitting, apparently. On 2nd and 9. Uyunglele dropped after a gain of 1. Donovan Ezeraku. This is a spicy defensive front for BC. That's Chibuzi on Wuka, who the defensive coordinator Tim Lukabu thought played his best game at BC last week against Louisville. He's a graduate student here. Third down and 8. 3.5 to go in the opening quarter. Shipley stayed in the block. They gave DJ a lot of time. Now he's out of time and down back at the 22.
Well,
Vinny DePalma took him down.
That is great coverage because that was man-to-man. Now, when they got the interception the last possession, it was zone. Watch, they're bringing pressure, but now they are locked up everywhere with a free safety, and nobody can get separation for Clemson. It's excellent coverage. You've got a guy spying in the middle, and you got a middle safety. Everywhere else, tight man-to-man coverage, and a big third down stop for the BC Eagles.
The big lift that Vinny DePalma is able to play. They're nursing an ankle injury. He's their leading tackler. Good punt by Aiden Swanson. And a fair catch made by Zay Flowers. 39-yard punt. Clemson playing without Brian Brzee in that defensive front. 5th prospect in Mel Kiper's draft board for 2023. He's dealing with a kidney infection. Of course, that comes right on the heels of losing his 15-year-old sister Ella to brain cancer in mid-September. There were some anxious days when Brian was struggling with a kidney infection and they didn't know what was wrong with him, and obviously everything they've been through, it's easy to think the worst. Fortunately, they think he might be able to play next week. Jurkovec has a man wide open. Zay Flowers tackled by Makuma. 34-yard gain.
Second catch for Zay Flowers, and in both cases, it's when the play is extended by Jurkovec. He's not open initially on the route, but because the quarterback left the pocket and extended the play, Flowers was able to find some separation behind the defense.
Dabo Sweeney knew job one, dealing with Flowers. He said, it's where's Waldo for us tonight? Where is Zay Flowers? Jurkovec takes on would-be tacklers and has another first down. He's not fleet of foot, but he had a huge 33-yard run last week late against Louisville to set up their game-winning field goal.
He did not play against Clemson last year, but the year before in 2020 he did, and he played very well. He was hard to tackle, he would run. They had a 28-13 lead at halftime and weren't able to hold on. That was DJ Uyunglele's first start in place of Trevor Lawrence, who had tested positive for COVID that week. But Jurkovec
was terrific. They had a 28-10 lead at one point, and that was the largest home comeback in Clemson football history. Jurkovec to the 9-yard line. The coaches, you talk, he's a graduate student. He believes he has an NFL future. I think some people around here thought he's protecting himself too much. And Jeff Hafley and the staff said, you have a job to do for your teammates in this football team. And part of that has to be taking some hits.
Yeah. And the offensive line has struggled, but they've gotten better, and I don't think he trusted it. And last week he trusted it more, and he played the way he can play well. And it made a whole difference, not only for his team, but for him. All week, he's been a different guy.
Here's Garwo. He's a yard shy of the first down. Tyler Davis made the tackle. It'll be 3rd down and 1.
I mentioned that they're without George Takis, so right now they've got an extra offensive lineman. They got a tight end, but that's an extra offensive lineman lining up as the tight end on that side. They run behind it for a pretty decent game.
Bring in Nick Thomas, number 61, who is a preferred walk-on. As you mentioned earlier, their guards are both former defensive linemen playing offensive line for the first time. Jackson Ness, the left guard, Dwayne Alec, the right guard. Garwo, a little too much stuff behind the line of scrimmage, and a big stop by K.J. Henry on the last play of the first quarter.
That's the end.
ESPN's presentation of college football on ABC will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations. After a quarter, here at Boston College, Clemson leads BC 3-0. It's 4th down and 3. And Jeff Hafley sends the kicker back out there. Thought, based on what he told us about taking chances, this might be one time to go for it, especially after Litton just missed from 35. This is a tough angle, too. Almost over to the left hash mark.
Ball start. Offense, number 62. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
Well, that penalty doesn't necessarily hurt your kick.
It might help,
angle,
actually.
Yeah.
Makes the angle a little easier.
Unless you had some kind of a fake field goal called, that is now off at 4th and 7, or 4th and 8, I mean.
To tie the game. Boy. By the narrowest of margins. So he's the most relieved man in America right now, Connor Litton. His field goal has tied it. Do you like the decision by Jeff Hafley? You know, we visited him yesterday. He said he's going to take some chances, but also you don't want to get wild.
Right.
I mean, your team is in the game,
Yeah.
and he said the most important thing is a good start.
Right, and this is a good start. Okay, so it's a tie ball game. Your defense has their cleats in the ground. They're playing well. They're playing physical. I could have seen it either way, you know, especially if you're worried that your kicker who missed a chip shot earlier is going to miss that one. If they'd have missed that one, it would have been a deflating situation here. But as it is, he made it. It's 3-3, and you're right where you want to be here as you start the second quarter. Ultimately, you're not going to beat Clemson with field goals, but for right now to be 3-3 at the end of one quarter, I'm sure he'll take that.
Whistles stop the play before the kickoff.
You know, when they played in Tallahassee 2 weeks ago, it was 21-0. They were down before they even, you know, knew what was going on. They were out of the game so quickly. Right now, it's a 3-3 ball game, and we're just starting the second quarter.
Against Florida State, it's Connor Litton who's kicking off. And they're going to squib it, and they were alert to it on the Clemson side. And down at the 37-yard line goes Will Taylor. He saw that short kick coming, and he charged after it. This season, All-State will celebrate every field goal and extra point made by participating universities by making a donation to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, All-State. And here's a view from the AT&T 5G Skycam.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness on the kicking team, number 3. 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
Wow. So you already pooch kick it, and then you get a penalty.
On Jason Maitre. Don't forget, you can check out the AT&T 5G Skycast streaming live on ESPN3 and the ESPN app.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Brandon Streeter right now call a deep shot play. Great field position after the penalty, play action, take a shot down the field.
Phil Maffa is the running back now in the pistol. They faked it to him. They tried to throw a slant to Joseph Ngana. And it was incomplete. Elijah Jones in coverage.
You know, if I was a coach, I would have a scholarship player of somebody who could kick the ball out of the end zone every single time. You know, you take all that out of the question. If you don't want to kick to a guy, a pooch kick, kicking it out of bounds, just kick the thing out of the end zone.
I wonder if they're trying to recover that. It's Maffa. I don't think it was just kicking short to keep it away from the deepest return man. It looked like, you know, they were hoping for a squib, and it should have been a clue because Linton does not usually kick off.
Yeah.
And he was out there for that kickoff. Chris Banks made the tackle. Here's 3rd down and 7 for Clemson. Another area of major improvement over last year. 3rd down. They're 52.6 this year. That's 9th in the country. Last year, 37%, 87th in America.
Like everything else last year, that was down. I mean, the last several years, they've been right around 50%.
A lot of time on 3rd downs and red zone as a coaching staff in the offseason. A blitz didn't get there. DJ fires, and it's caught, but short of the first down.
Dropped.
Bo Collins thrown down immediately, and now they're ruling that incomplete. Amari Jackson, the freshman from McDonough, Georgia, one of their highest-ranked recruits in recent years.
Man coverage, good break on the ball by Amari Jackson, and he just rips it out. The ball's well thrown, and Jackson fought the ball out. Nice play on 3rd down.
He's a 4-star recruit in the Atlanta area. Coaches have to throw him in there tonight to start. Tim Lukabu told us yesterday the lights aren't going to be too bright for Amari Jackson. That was a big play. Swanson now, end over end, and a decoy by Zay Flowers, signaled the fair catch and let it go over his head into the end zone. Kick off your Week 5 NFL Sunday, 10 a.m. with the Countdown crew on ESPN and the app. They'll have the early breaking stories, injury updates, previews of each game right up to kickoff, and then it's Monday Night Football on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. The Raiders in Kansas City, one of the great rivalries. First time they're meeting on Monday Night Football since 2003.
That is a great rivalry. That was always one of my favorite to be a part of, all the way back to the AFL days.
Jurkovec on 1st down, given plenty of time. Now running out of it, hit as he threw it. And it's incomplete. Intended for Flowers.
Well, we talked about how can you be creative with Zay Flowers. One of the things, you got to line him up in different spots. Outside, inside, put him in motion. Put him in a bunch set. Different sides of the field, even in the backfield. So far, pretty good decisions by John McNulty getting Zay Flowers in different spots. If you line him up in the same spot, and Clemson has a beat on where he is, they can bring a safety over the top and virtually double cover him and take him out of the game.
Louisville knew last week they were going to try to get the ball to Zay Flowers, and he still had 151 yards receiving. Jurkovec just launching one deep, and it's incomplete. KJ Henry applied the pressure on his fellow number 5.
Now, KJ Henry is just continuing to grow and blossom. He comes on a little inside stunt. Again, the 2 guards in there are converted defensive linemen. Dwayne Alec, the right guard, number 53, just got turned around on the stunt. And KJ Henry too quick on his way to the quarterback.
Jack Conley, 67, is the right tackle. They'd rather have him playing guard, but he has to play tackle out of necessity. They love the center, number 66, Drew Kendall, a redshirt freshman. They think will play in the NFL. He's the son of Pete Kendall, who did play in the NFL. On target and caught. Will there be forward progress for Jalen Gill before he was driven back by Makuba? There will be. And it's a 1st and 10 for BC at their own 33-yard line.
The BC coaches told us everybody's blitz percentages are going up against us because of the offensive line issues. Clemson brought pressure. Jurkovec felt it and drifted a little bit. And watched the receiver come back to the football. He knew what he needed for the 1st down and covered that, but still was able to come back to his quarterback and secure the catch.
Boston College more than holding its own here with the number 5 team in the country. Garwo taken down by Peyton Page. And Murphy is going to head off on this 2nd down and 9. Coach is also very high on the left tackle, number 70, Ozzie Trapillo. He's a redshirt sophomore, another legacy here at BC. Jackson Ness, number 78, the left guard, played D-line for 3 years. Went to the coaches in spring, said, I'd like to play maybe offensive line. Now he's a starter. They're trying to set up a screen. They do. Garwo made some men miss and has another 1st down. Nice play calling tonight by the new offensive coordinator, John McNulty, and that's a 14-yard gain.
Well, Jurkovec had to do his best to keep it away from Kevin Swint, who beat the right tackle. He gets quick pressure on a screen. You drip, still able to get it out there to Garwo, and then they get a nice gain at the end of the play. Is up here now, again moving him from side to side, inside, outside, now in motion.
And they give it to him, and it's a reverse. And Williams tripped down across the 50-yard line. There was more in that play, but Jaden Williams fell down. Here's Kevin Nagandi.
Sean, now for our RV studio update. Number 6 USC hosting Washington State. Trojans at home already up 10-0, but Cam Ward or Robert Farrell. And keep an eye on this game. Cougars back in it, down by 3. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Washington State a little bit better than people know. The eastern part of the country. USC's had a couple tough games. They've had to rely on their defense a couple times this year already.
Play action fake. Zings over the middle. Caught. Jaden Williams again. Sophomore from Pflugerville, Texas, with a 1st down for BC.
Again, extra offensive linemen for protection. They've got their top tight ends hurt, so we bring an extra offensive lineman. Good play action protection, and when you protect him, he can throw it.
This is a much improved offensive line
no
from
doubt.
the start of the year till now. I mean, you can understand why it would be a work in progress with everybody they lost from last year's team and then the injuries. Xavier Coleman, ordinarily their 5th running back, but number 2 tonight because of injuries to Alex Broom, Kemp Barfield, and Alex Sinkfield. Mahogany was the starter coming back from last year, and Mel Kiper has him ranked as a 1st-round pick. Kevin Klein just had ACL surgery yesterday. He would have been their starting right tackle. So it has been a mess. And again, you have to give credit to Dave DeGuglielmo. The new offensive line coach, who's coached a long time in college and in the NFL. There's Mahogany. We look forward to having back next year. Jurkovec waving receivers around, running out of time, and wisely throws it away through the back of the end zone. They got aggressive there on 2nd and 2. Tyler Davis brought the pressure. John McNulty was the tight end coach at Notre Dame for the last couple of years. Spent a lot of time himself in the NFL. 3rd down and 2, 9.5 to go till halftime. Tied at 3 after the fake, going for the end zone, and it's batted away. Beautifully covered by Nate Wiggins, who got torched a couple of times in that Wake Forest game, and in the words of Dabo Swinney, lost his mind. He was much better last week against NC State.
Yeah, and that's beautiful coverage. I mean, he's right in position. He's reading the receiver's eyes. He turns his head at the last minute, gets a hand on the football. Did have a hand on the shoulder of the receiver, but didn't impede the receiver. And that was well played by Nate Wiggins.
4th down and 2. Looks like they're going to go for it. They might have to use a timeout there. And here comes Jeff Hafley to ask for the timeout.
Timeout. Boston College, their first. Full timeout.
9:29 to go till halftime.
Want updates on the action? Just tell Siri, show me college football scores.
Here's tonight's Taco Bell Live Más student section. Student sections around the country competing to be the Live Más student section of the year all season long. Jeff Hafley raved about the BC students here. And they packed it for the red bandana game. Their team hanging in there with Clemson. It's 3-3. With 9.5 to go till halftime, and Boston College going for it on 4th and 2. From the 28, pressure, Djokovic in trouble. Fires, and it's almost intercepted, batted down by Jeremiah Trotter. KJ Henry delivered the pressure, and that play had no chance.
No, just no time to make a play. Here's KJ Henry right here. He's just going to come outside. He's responsible for the quarterback. Has outside leverage. He doesn't lose contain. He forces Djokovic to pull up, and then he's not able to get enough on the football. Just that play blown up by KJ Henry. The hit applied by Barrett Carter, but KJ Henry made the play.
Graduate student, team leader. Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Grew up around Wake Forest football. His dad was an assistant coach there for a long time. Out of the pistol they go. Not much on offense for Clemson so far tonight. Will Shipley ahead for 3. They had a field goal on their opening drive to the Tigers, and then since then DJ's thrown an interception. They've had a couple of 3-and-outs.
Only 21 yards rushing. Last year Clemson ran for 231 yards against BC's defense. So far tonight, a little more stout effort by the Eagle defenders.
Fake to Shipley. Out wide it comes, and a big hit. Was that caught? No, it's incomplete. Elijah Jones absolutely blasted Brandon Spector.
I'm not sure I'd throw the quick wide receiver screen to Jones' side. That's the second time he's blown the play up. This time he just whips the block of E.J. Williams, number 6, and puts a big hit on the receiver. Second time in the ball game that Elijah Jones has blown up the wide receiver screen.
He's a guy who other teams have targeted. Louisville clearly went after Elijah Jones last week. He's winning his share of the battles tonight for sure. 3rd down and 8. Shipley, the running back. He stayed in a block against the blitz. Long throw for Ngata, and it's incomplete. Josh DeBerry had the coverage.
Well, BC brought pressure again. Bryce Steele, the linebacker, came with inside pressure. And that's a defender who doesn't really know where the ball is, but he's reading the hands and the eyes of the receiver. And when he sees the receiver's hands go up, he brings his hands up through and knocks the ball away. Here's the pressure on the inside by Bryce Steele. And another 3rd down stop for the Eagles.
Jeff Hafley's background is on defense. He's very involved with the administration of the defense. Aiden Swanson almost had it blocked, and they ran into the kicker, and a flag is down. Question is, will this be running into or roughing?
Yeah.
It's 4th
There is no
and 8.
foul for running into the kicker because the punter was outside of the box. Media timeout.
And Matt Austin, our referee, agrees with that. Contavious Hutchins off the hook. Probably not a good idea to act like you know you're about to get a penalty before they actually throw the flag. You're watching ESPN Saturday Night Football at ABC, presented by Capital One.
Back in studio, Kevin Nagani. October baseball where no lead is safe. The Mariners were down 8-1, and they came back to eliminate the Blue Jays in Toronto 10-9. Seattle advancing, and they'll face Houston in the ALDS. Currently going on. Mets Padres tied at 1 in the 3rd over on ESPN. Phillies Cardinals underway scoreless on ESPN2. Back to Sean Todd and Molly.
We have a pitcher's duel here, Kevin. 3-3 the score, 8.5 to go till halftime. A blitz by Clemson on 1st down. Djokovic got it off. It's caught by the true freshman tight end, Jeremiah Franklin, his first career catch.
Well, pressure's coming from the outside. You can see right here, there's nobody blocking. Barrett Carter coming on the pressure. Jurkovec does a nice job of hanging in there, knowing he's going to take a shot and getting rid of the football for a short completion. Jeff Hafley said when he's at his best, when he's playing great, he knows he's going to take some shots because it's his toughness that makes him a high-level quarterback.
2 years at Notre Dame where he was a backup, transferred here. He's been the starter ever since. An errant throw, and it's almost intercepted. Diving attempt by Nate Wiggins.
Got away with one there. Looks like a little miscommunication whether the receiver was going in or out. Kind of lucky that one didn't get picked off.
You're just joining us. Clemson in the secondary playing without Sheridan Jones, R.J. Mickens, Tyler Venables. Both very important members of that secondary. None of them made the trip tonight. It's Wiggins at one starting corner and Toriano Pride, the true freshman, at the other. Pride's played a lot of snaps in recent weeks. Jurkovec has some running room. And that goes away quickly as he's run down by Trenton Simpson, the leading tackler for Clemson this year.
Yeah, if that's a defensive lineman, maybe Jurkovec can outrun him to the first down sticks, but not Trenton Simpson. Not one of these linebackers for Clemson. They can all fly, and Simpson with a good tackle on the big quarterback.
6'3", 240. As a starter last year, the other two linebackers, Trotter and Carter, are new starters. Dabo says it's the most athletic linebacker group that he's had. The punt, and
that was his own man.
That was his own man. Taylor got hit by one of his own players, and Clemson got it back at the 10-yard line. Crowd doesn't like the call. They think Boston College came up with it.
Is a muff recovered by the receiving team. First down, Clemson. Media timeout.
Elijah Rogers, number 35, bumped into Will Taylor, and that's why the ball was muffed. And Taylor looks like he was able to come up with the football.
Elijah Jones, starting cornerback, down there covering the punt, injured in that pileup after Clemson muffed the punt.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see what the problem was. His right arm does kind of get caught in the pile. At one point he was kind of holding his lower back, but it was good to see him walk off the field on his own strength.
Clemson from its own 10. Shipley. Good for a 7-yard gain. Donovan Ezaraku swung him down.
Well, with some tempo right now. Take a look at after that initial field goal, not much to show for Clemson's offense tonight, which has been playing really well all season. You know, Sean, it should be mentioned too, and this doesn't take anything away from Boston College or their effort, but Clemson is coming off of back-to-back wins, hard-fought wins, double overtime at Wake Forest, and then a physical game at home against North Carolina State last week, two ranked opponents.
Shipley got the first down and remains the running back with 4 receivers, 2 to either side. And a long throw. There's a flag down. They might have grabbed a hold of Bo Collins. Josh DeBerry, who plays both corner and safety, has moved out to the corner with Elijah Jones off the field.
Defense, number 21. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Yeah, they felt they would be okay with DeBerry because he's played both, but all over the receiver on that one. An easy call on the outside, working against Bo Collins.
Ball comes out to the 36-yard line. Clemson started slowly last week as well against NC State. They scored their first touchdown to the last minute. Some movement for a false start. the last minute of the first half.
False start. Offense number 74. 5-yard.
Yeah, I mean,
first down.
It was really the last minute of the first half and the first minute of the second half, first couple of minutes of the second half, where they kind of took control of that game. NC State had scored late in the first half to take the lead, and Clemson went right down and took the lead back and took it over in the third quarter.
And to your point, Clemson entered this weekend as the only team in the country that has a win over 2 teams that are both in the top 15 in the country this week, as Wake Forest and NC State are. DJ looked around and found Antonio Williams at the 36-yard line. They're taking Elijah Jones to the locker room. I think it is a right shoulder issue, and his arm got pinned in.
Yeah. And he's played very well. I mean, he's the guy that has kind of defended those wide receiver screens here early in the game. Veteran guy, graduate student.
They're playing without C.J. Burton, who started the first 4 games of the season. He has an upper body injury. Jalen Cheek has been sick. He's in their rotation. Quick slant caught by Bo Collins. Short of the first down by about 2.5 yards. Here comes third down for Clemson with under 5.5 to go till halftime. Uyunglele hit 6 of his first 7. He's now 9 for 15.5 for just 79 yards. Third down, a long 2 with 5 minutes to go in the half, tied at 3. Uyunglele kept it, and then his pass is short of Antonio Williams, who lined up in the backfield.
Well, Vinny DePalma got quick pressure, and DJ was not able to set his feet and make the throw. They're trying to get rid of this ball quickly, but DePalma comes on the blitz, and DJ doesn't get his feet set and not able to get enough on that ball to Bo Collins.
Clemson much improved this season on third down, but 0 for 5 tonight. Here's Swanson, who has had an up and down first year as the starter, to the point where Dabo Swinney said if he doesn't get a little more consistent, there could be competition for the punter's job. This is good work. They let it roll out of bounds near the 7-yard line. Coach Swinney frustrated. Boston College hanging right in there with the number 5 team in the country on red bandana night on the campus of Boston College. Here's tonight's fighting spirit moment, brought to you by Modelo.
Well, one of the ways that BC is fighting to protect their quarterback, they're taking Jack Conley and lining him up as a tight end. Nick Thomas comes in as the extra offensive lineman to play right tackle. They're missing their tight end, George Takis, so this is a strategy to protect the quarterback on play action. And they've been able to get a few throws down the field by giving their quarterback, Phil Jerkovic, a little extra time. They've been in that set quite a bit here in the first half.
Starting from their own 7-yard line, pressure off the corner, and the running play is dropped for a loss. Jeremiah Trotter with penetration, dropped Pat Garwo behind the line of scrimmage, loss of 2.
These next 8 minutes are critical. Again, you mentioned it. Last week it was a slow start for Clemson, but late in the half they took the lead, then they dominated the third quarter. BC has played valiantly so far, but they cannot afford a big mistake or a costly turnover at this point in the first half.
Jerkovic in the end zone, high throw in the flat, incomplete, off the hands of Jeremiah Franklin. Here's Kevin Nagandi.
Sean, now for our Dr. Pepper Fansville studio update. Let's go to Tuscaloosa. No Bryce Young, but Jalen Milroe. What do you see, Coach?
Yeah, versus zone pressure, he found the seam up into the boundary.
To Cameron Latu, and Bama's on the board, 7-0 against Texas A&M. Back to you.
All right, Kevin, thank you. Here we're tied at 3. It's Wes Goodwin, the new defensive coordinator. Plays Brent Venables, who left to become the head coach at Oklahoma, and what a rough ride he's having at the moment. They lost their 3rd straight today. They're getting walloped. Jurkovec again directing traffic. Spins back into the end zone and then throws a sinker on the outside corner to Pat Garwo.
Well, they're purposely moving the quarterback out of the pocket, all right, and they're trying to get extra protection here, but Clemson just playing kind of a zone defense, trying to keep everything in front, and really nowhere to go clean for Jurkovec. He's trying to buy extra time and nowhere to go. Good stop by the Clemson defense. Field position game right now, really flipping the field right here.
Danny Longman, veteran punter, goes up spiral. Caught on the run by Antonio Williams. Inside the 30. And excellent field position for Clemson. They're going to start at the 27-yard line.
Antonio Williams just continues to make big plays for this Clemson football team. True freshman out of Irmo, South Carolina. Didn't get here till June. Was not an early enrollee, but picked things up so quickly and has such a maturity about him that he has played a vital role in the Clemson offense here through the first half of the season.
They just keep finding them, don't they?
Yeah.
They've had 11 receivers drafted since 2013, tied with Ohio State for the most in the country. When you have that track record, great players are going to come to you to play wide receiver. Uyunglele, after the fake to Maffa, goes down at the 21-yard line.
DJ last week in that win against NC State, 14 carries, 73 yards. Real difference maker. A couple touchdowns on the ground.
He's their #2 rusher for the season entering tonight. Kobe Pace, who's ordinarily the #2 running back, is not here due to injury. It's Maffa, #2 behind Shipley now. Approaching 3 minutes to go in the half. Maffa flipped it off to Antonio Williams, who got stood up at the 18-yard line. This hard-hitting Boston College defense, that was Josh DeBerry.
It's a great play by DeBerry because there's a blocker. Jordan McFadden, the left tackle, number 71, is there to block him. But he just can't get there quick enough. DeBerry beats him to the point and makes the tackle at the line of scrimmage.
We talked to Tim Lukabu yesterday. He said, you will feel him when he hits you, talking about DeBerry. That's true. Big hole, Maffa. Down at the 10-yard line. Cole Batson made the stop for the Eagles, and now tempo. Maffa again. Plays a lot on third downs when everybody's healthy. He got the first down. First and goal. You think they might slow down here now, Todd, just to not leave Boston College that much time.
I don't know that they feel all that threatened right now by BC's offense.
One-on-one play. Williams, and a nice tackle by Batson. A redshirt freshman who's playing more tonight than he ordinarily would due to the injuries to others.
Well, he was on his knees and was able to still get a good hold of Williams. Tough out in space with those quick receivers.
Second and goal from the 5. Maffa, the running back. And he went in motion. Quarterback draw. DJ just lowers his head. Powers toward the goal line. And comes up just short.
Well, it looked for sure like he was going to just power his way into the end zone. Again, big body, 6'4", 235 pounds, driving those legs close to the goal line. He didn't even get a push or anything from behind. He did that all on his own.
A minute to go in the half. Third and goal. Shipley back in the game. One of the nation's leaders in rushing touchdowns. And he walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson. His 19th career rushing touchdown in this, his 16th game as a Clemson Tiger.
Yeah, really tough to defend right here because you have to be aware of both Shipley and the quarterback. Both these guys capable of running it. It's just inside zone. give on the inside. Nice block by the tight end, Davis Allen, number 84. And Shipley does what he does as well as anybody, find the end zone. And the first touchdown of the game here late in the first half. Came off the good defensive stop, the short punt, the punt return. They flipped the field and then capitalized with the touchdown.
High snap, but Drew Sweeney, the holder, got it down, and A.T. Potter ripped it through. Another touchdown for Will Shipley. We get another update from Kevin Nagandi.
Sean Dish, halftime report just minutes away. Dan Mullen, Booger McFarland, Kevin Nagandi, 10-3. What's BC doing so well in this game?
I love what they're doing defensively. They're getting off the field on third down. They're limiting the explosive plays from Clemson.
Okay, close game in Tuscaloosa. We'll have an update on Alabama. A&M just scored. What are you seeing from USC Washington State?
I'll tell you what, Washington State is battling tough, finding ways to make plays out there on the field, keeping that tight.
A close one on the West Coast. Highlights coming your way. Back to you, Sean.
Gentlemen, thank you. As we mentioned, 19 rushing touchdowns. That is the most over the last 2 seasons among conference running backs. He had 8 last year he has 8 this season, I should say. He missed 3 games last season. There are 2 quarterbacks who've had more rushing touchdowns in the ACC since the start of last season. Malik Cunningham of Louisville and Garrett Schrader of the undefeated Syracuse Orange. Clemson and Syracuse, the only 2 remaining undefeated teams in the ACC. 4 ACC teams ranked this week. Jalen Gill, the kickoff return.
You like saying that about the Orange, don't you?
Haven't been able to say 5-0 since 1987, which was a special year under the late great Hall of Fame coach Dick McPherson. Here's the Aflac trivia question for one of the last Boston College wide receivers selected in the NFL draft. Zay Flowers certainly will be. Jeff Hafley, as we mentioned, has an NFL background. And he said yesterday, I'm going to tell all my NFL friends, you want to take him, and you'll be very glad you did, as a person and as a football player. Not just a little slot receiver,
right?
Tavon Austin type, not to disparage him, because we're not. He's a terrific player, too.
Timeout.
This guy is a wide receiver.
30 seconds. Please reset
And
the game
do you know
clock
the answer?
to 30.
No,
Yeah, Aflac
I
trivia
don't.
question.
I don't.
Kelvin Martin, back in 1987 in the 4th round. They've had 6 tight ends selected since then. In the whole history of the NFL draft, they've only had 6 wide receivers taken.
Yeah, tight ends, offensive linemen,
running backs.
Yeah,
good running
put
backs.
a lot of guys in the league.
So this guy's going to be drafted. He'd like to break the school record for career receiving touchdowns set by Kmart back in the 80s. Second and 7. Jurkovec dumps it down for Garwo. He gets a first down. Now let's see if BC gets a little aggressive.
Yeah, Clemson called the timeout, and BC countered with a pass, got the first down.
Clemson not really lined up along the defensive line. There's a catch at the 40-yard line. Now Jeff Hafley started toward the official like he was going to call a timeout. Apparently he got talked out of it.
BC won the toss and deferred, so they will get the ball to start the 3rd quarter, trailing 10-3.
The talk about being aggressive and taking chances. I haven't really seen a lot of that in the first half, but then again,
That's the end
they
of the
thought
second
they might
quarter.
have to do some risky things to stay in the game, but they're in the game without doing those things. And they will get the ball, Boston College, to receive to start the second half. That's the lowest point total in any half this season. The lowest first half was 13 last week and against Furman. 10 tonight, but they have the lead. Here's Molly.
Coach, your offense got into the end zone at the end of the first half. What's their defense doing to challenge you most?
Well, first of all, we drop a touchdown right out of the gate, and then we don't get off the field on 3rd and long and had a couple of backed up situations, but poor decision on interception, and just they outplayed us. Simple as that. Just outplayed us, but we're fortunate to be up 10-3. It's a great place and a prideful team that we're playing, so we got to play better. We got our hands full.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay.
at the half. Clemson 10, Boston College 3. We'll send you to the studio for the Dish halftime report after this message and a word from our ABC stations. This is the ACC on ESPN. And Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Capital One. Alumni Stadium is rocking. The Boston College Eagles on homecoming weekend on a red bandana night, hanging in there with the Clemson Tigers. It's 10-3. Excellent defense, Todd Blackledge, for BC.
Yeah, really good defense. Jeff Hafley, known as a defensive guru, really has it dialed up this first half. A mixture of man and zone. They were able to confuse DJ Uyunglele. They were able to pressure him. They did a great job of the run. They were excellent on third down, holding Clemson to 1 for 6 on third down, and no explosive plays. The longest play they had was a 19-yard pass reception. Good tackling in the open field. Excellent defense in the first half by BC.
The big play for them was the 20-yard punt return by Antonio Williams that put them in great shape to score the only touchdown of the half. 45 seconds to go on a 1-yard run by Will Shipley. D.T. Potter kicks off. And if you've been watching the game, there's really nothing fluky about what has happened here. You know, Boston College has actually outgained Clemson by 37 yards.
Yeah, they played well. They weren't able to get the ball in the end zone. They've got to kind of stick to the script. You know, they've got to try to protect Jurkovec, and they've got to find ways to get the ball to Zay Flowers. You know, and Clemson knows that. And, you know, Clemson last week came out of the locker room in the third quarter, and they got a sack on the first play of the third quarter against NC State, a sack on third down, and then kind of took control of the game right after that.
Play fake, and Jurkovec hit immediately, somehow got it out wide to Zay Flowers. KJ Henry with the quick penetration, and you almost called it.
Yeah. Well,
relative to a week ago.
That's exactly what happened a week ago. And you see the strength of Jurkovec to avoid going down to the ground and still somehow get the ball out. Didn't gain any yards, lost a yard, but avoided the sack, which is a momentum play.
AJ Henry's had a very active night. Loss of 1 on the play. Clemson brings pressure again. Carter on the blitz. And Jurkovec had to throw it away quickly. Here's Molly McGrath.
Well, BC coach Jeff Hafley was most encouraged by his team's fight in the first half, saying, I looked in their eyes in the locker room. I can tell this team believes that we can win. I love our fight on defense. Our third down defense has been incredible. And he pointed out we do have more yards than them. So we are moving the ball on them. And this team really believes in themselves. But he said corner Elijah Jones still in the locker room being evaluated. He may return in the fourth quarter. He said, we're down another corner, not what we need, but whoever goes in will fight. I promise you that. Sean.
All right, Molly, thank you. Here's a screen. And it somehow got to Garwo, who's dragged down by Trenton Simpson short of the line to make for the first down. And just on those 3 plays, Todd, it looked like the intensity level in that Clemson defense, a little more urgency in some of these players coming after Jurkovec.
In all 3 plays, Wes Goodwin called for extra pressure. There was extra people coming after the quarterback and a much more aggressive approach to start the third quarter.
Danny Longman to punt. Graduate student from Miami Shores, Florida. Been in the program a long time. Not a great kick. Taylor, fair catch at the 28-yard line. So here comes DJ Uyunglele, whose 80 yards in the first half were his fewest of any first half this year. This is game number 6. He had thrown for at least 100 in all 5 games. His low passing yardage total in a game this year, Todd, is 207. And he didn't have a single game where he threw for that many yards last year. Here's Will Shipley. So I want to make dudes miss, and I want them to feel it when they tackle me and leave the game saying that was a hard guy to tackle. And he is both of those.
He's 205 pounds, but he just runs with so much more physicality.
Improved in the passing game. He's also an outstanding student. He's a perfect 4.0 as a business management major out of Weddington, North Carolina, just outside Charlotte.
I loved what Dabo said about him too, that ever since he stepped foot on campus, he has never lost a gasser or a sprint. Every single sprint or gasser they've run, he wins, and that's part of why the team respects him so much.
Picking up the tempo on offense as well. Diving catch made by Antonio Williams for minimal gain. And it'll be 3rd down. They're at their own 41. It's 3rd down and 7.
Again, 3rd down in the first half is where this BC defense was at its best, holding the Tigers to 1 for 6. They mixed in pressure with disguising coverage, and they always look like it's either going to be man-free with a press coverage, but sometimes they bail out and play zone from the same look.
Shipley, the running back. Uyunglele got it off for Collins, who made a leaping catch along the near sideline. Cam Arnold hit Uyunglele on the throw, and he still put it in a perfect spot for a 21-yard gain.
Yeah, what a courageous throw, because the left tackle was beaten on the play, hung in there under pressure, and delivered the ball.
Their longest pass play of the night. Now going for Ngata. Touchdown, Clemson. He got behind Josh DeBerry. An impressive start to the second half for the Tigers after they sleptwalked their way through the first half.
No explosive plays in the first half, 2 in this drive. Little stutter step move by Ngata, then he just runs by DeBerry. Nothing fancy about the route, but he got separation. And DJ Uyunglele put the ball in the right spot.
First touchdown of the year for the senior from Folsom, California, Joseph Ngata. A 38-yarder. And BT Potter adds the extra point. You could see and feel the difference in the intensity level in Clemson on both sides of the ball to start this half.
Yeah, 3rd down completion, and then the touchdown. And just like that, a 2-touchdown lead for the Tigers.
Oh, you have to love that music. It can only mean one thing. The NHL is back, and we kick off our coverage on ESPN and ESPN Plus Tuesday night. Rematch of the Eastern Conference Final. Tampa Bay at the New York Rangers, followed by the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas Golden Knights against the LA Kings. BT Potter, the kickoff. And it'll be a touchback. Here's Molly McGrath.
That Clemson touchdown, Dabo Swinney brought his entire offense together in a huddle, encouraging them and challenging them to keep their foot on the gas and ride the momentum from this hot start to the second half. And he specifically challenged his quarterback, DJ Uyunglele, and his wide receivers, and they look ready to respond, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned in the first half, 0 explosive plays, runs of over 10 or passes over 20. 3 in that drive. An 11-yard run by Shipley, 2 pass completions, 1 on 3rd down, 1 for a touchdown. Just like that, a different looking Clemson offense.
And now Boston College, Todd, most of that looks like they're just content to kind of hang in there. Now they actually have to do something on offense.
Yeah, they're not really built to play catch-up.
And Garwo has no room to run there. Jalen Phillips, the safety, primary tackler for Clemson. BC struggled all year to run the ball. We mentioned the remade offensive line. Boston College, 2.4 yards per rush for the season. Only Colorado State worse in yards per rush in FBS football. The Eagles averaging 77 rush yards per game.
Flowers right here. How can they get him the football with some room?
They fake the handoff. Jakovic will go down at the 18-yard line. Trey Williams. First sack of the night for the Clemson defense, although they've applied a lot of pressure.
Well, they're bringing both linebackers. Here's Trey Williams. He's just going to kind of follow him to the quarterback. Again, Wes Goodwin saying, we are not going to let this quarterback sit back there. We're going to bring pressure. We're going to go back to playing more man. And we're going to challenge this rebuild offensive line. And so far in the third quarter, they have played at a different tempo.
That is what we were just talking about. The sacks are the most allowed in the ACC. It's the first one tonight. You can see the happy feet there on Jakovic as a result. And the incomplete pass leads to a quick 3 and out. And I think if you're the Clemson coaches, you did exactly the right thing, especially Wes Goodwin, right? Sluggish first half.
Yeah.
We're coming after him on every play. Let's go.
I mean, the strength of your defense is not your secondary, right? It's your front. It's your front 4 and your front 7. So let's make them the focal point of our defense and go after the quarterback. We'll
Danny Longman to punt. And again, not a very good one. Well, it gets a very good bounce down the far sideline, landed near midfield and rolled all the way down to the 33.
The defense set the tone with a 3 and out and an aggressive approach. And when the offense got it, this is what they did on the last drive. It started with a simply run for 11 yards. And then on third down, under duress, DJ hits Collins for the first down. And right after that, he goes downfield to Ngata, man-to-man coverage for the touchdown. We didn't see much of any of that in the first half in terms of big plays, and 3 of them in their opening possession of the third quarter.
Start of the pistol with Maffa, the running back. DJ has a man wide open and missed him. The ball thrown behind Adam Randall. DJ on passes 10 or more yards downfield. First half was 0 for 4 with that interception by DeBerry on the previous drive. The quick touchdown drive, 2 for 2 for 59 yards on balls thrown 10 or more down the field. They have a bunch of receivers who can make plays down the field and tight ends who can do it too. Maffa still the running back. And a sophomore from Loganville, Georgia, got the carry. Got chased out of bounds along the near sideline by Jason Matry.
Maffa was able to get a little stiff arm on Vinny DePalma, but DePalma was able to slow him down a little bit. He doesn't get the tackle, but he slows him down enough for the rest of his defenders to get there and force him out of bounds for a very minimal gain on second down.
Third down and 9. They don't get anywhere near Uiagalelei, who lofts it up. And Randall almost made an acrobatic catch on the jump ball with Josh DeBerry.
Well, this is a beautiful play by DeBerry. Right in phase with the receiver, a little slow getting up off to the after the play, but right in phase, goes up. Was able to rip that ball out.
Defensive injury.
And DeBerry still down. Some of the scenes from Red Bandana Night here at Alumni Stadium in honor and memory of BC lacrosse player Wells Crowther. The 9th Red Bandana game, celebrating the life and legacy of a young man who sacrificed his life to save others at the World Trade Center back in 2001 on September 11th. His mom, Allison, again here tonight, as she is every year for the Red Bandana game and others. And you know, it's not just a wonderful way to celebrate his life, but they have started, as you saw, a charitable trust. They raise money to give to students scholarships for those who are active in their community, as Wells Crowther was. Working as a firefighter. Swanson just did get the punt off, and a fair catch made by Zay Flowers. Wells was a student here at BC in the late 90s, on the varsity lacrosse team, honors student, and was working on the 104th floor of the South Tower of the World Trade Center. Terrorist attacks hit, and he, because there were many eyewitnesses who saw him do this, and he was recognized by his trademark red bandana, continued to help people out of the tower and then go back up the stairs to rescue others. And it's believed at least a dozen were escorted to safety and helped out of the tower by Wells Crowley. As Jeff Hafley said yesterday to his team, would you do that? Who among us would do that? And that is heroism and bravery, selflessness beyond description.
And, you know, we talked to a couple players, and they asked themselves that question. So you maybe don't know until you're in that situation, you know, until you're there. You'd like to think that you would do that, but you really don't know.
It's quickly becoming a mess on the field for Jeff Hafley's team. You saw DeBerry, an important part of their defense, heading to the locker room. Jeff Hafley's a great fit here at Boston College, and he loves it here. His family loves it here. His wife Gina, their two daughters, Hope and Leah. Hope and Leah were along for the Eagle Walk with their dad. There are challenges here. There's an awful lot to like. This great academic institution, amazing city which it sits. Nice diving catch made by Jalen Gill, and a first down out to the 48-yard line. That brought a little life to the sideline.
Yeah, and that's the kind of play Jurkovic's going to have to make. That was great protection. Don't get happy feet. Don't panic. Stand in there and then deliver the football.
He had a chance to step into that throw, but he wasn't on the same page with his receiver.
I mean, if Clemson is going to blitz now, which it looks like Wes Goodwin is saying we're going to do, that's going to leave some one-on-one opportunities. And then you've got to win some one-on-one battles and make some contested catches. But your quarterback has to do his part, which is hang in there, know he might take a couple shots, and deliver the football. Give your guys a chance to make some plays against tight coverage.
Wes Goodwin and Dabo both talked about how fortunate they were to win against Wake Forest and then take away some teaching moments. Wide receiver screen to Flowers. It was down after a gain of 4. And they win that game in overtime when their secondary got torched, and Dabo and Wes Goodwin really got after the defense in the days leading up to the NC State game last Saturday night, and it was noticeably different.
And they played differently. They played a lot more two cover safety, you know, kind of a two deep shell, more zone coverage, more off coverage, and that helped them. That helped them play better pass defense. Tonight they're kind of going back to that single high look and challenging the receivers a little more.
They're showing pressure. They bring pressure. Jurkovic scrambled right into it and then got flattened from behind.
Dropped the ball
Xavier
too.
Thomas with the ball out. Thomas playing for the first time this season. He's been out all year with a foot injury. And Boston College did get it back, but it's a huge loss on the play. And if Jeff Hafley was thinking about going for it, he certainly won't now. Loss of 9 on the sack.
Well, here's Thomas. He's coming here. This is Trenton Simpson. He's starting right there, and he's going to come all the way outside, and they meet at the quarterback. Thomas is just a quick step pass rusher, and he and Simpson were there almost at the same time. Ball's out right there. And I think Jurkovic was able to come back up with it.
Another wobbly punt, and another muff by Taylor of the Longman punt. And Clemson got it back. The first time they muffed one of his own players ran into him. That time it was just dropped. These punts are kind of end over end. They might be hard to catch.
Yeah, I mean, again, Clemson's going to be very fortunate. I think for the second time, Will Taylor falls on his own muffed punt. That could have been a real change of pace here and change of momentum if BC would have been able to come up with that one.
Taylor, a two-sport athlete, baseball player as well at Clemson. And Shipley going nowhere. Driven back, in fact. Nito Okpala and Jason Maitre on the stop for Boston College. Second down and 12. Uyunglele 13-23 for 141, a touchdown and an interception. On the draw, Shipley to the 25-yard line. They'll need 5 on third down. Cam Arnold made the tackle for the Eagles.
A good safe call on second and long yardage. Shipley gets a good portion of that back and gives yourself a third and manageable situation now on this play.
Shipley, the running back. Just 1 out of 6 on third down passing is Uyunglele. As a team, they're 2 for 8 in third down conversions. BC brings pressure off the corner, and it gets home. Maitre on the blitz.
Boy, he did a great job of slipping inside of the left guard, Marcus Tate. Number 74 is there to pick it up. They should have been able to pick up this pressure. Maitre's going to come right in here and watch 74 Tate just kind of miss him. He's there, he slipped inside of him, and he got to the quarterback for the sack. The line was sliding that way, so the center went that way, the guard went that way, and Marcus Tate should have been able to pick that up. But Maitre too quick.
There's veterans. Swanson again takes a long time to get the punt off. Caught on the run. And a good return by Zay Flowers to the 39-yard line of Clemson. The punt only 36 yards and low, and it gave Flowers a chance to attack it. 17-3 Clemson, third quarter. Here's a look at the college football rankings entering this weekend's play. Brought to you by Capital One. Alabama back at number 1, leading in a close one against Texas A&M. Easy wins for 2, 3, and 4. Clemson has pulled away a bit here. USC in a tough one. So no difficulty so far in the top 10. First and 10, Boston College. At the Clemson 39, short set by Djokovic. He tried to feed it through a lot of traffic to Jeremiah Franklin. It was broken up by Trenton Simpson.
Yeah, these linebackers close so quickly. I mean, the tight end was actually open briefly, but the closing speed of Simpson was there to knock the ball away.
50% for Djokovic, who was 75% in the previous 2 games combined. Up the middle, and a good gain for Garwo. His backup, Alex Broom, is really the home run hitter.
Yeah.
And they don't have him tonight. He's out with a hamstring injury. So it's even more stifled rushing attack than usual.
Yeah, the absence of Broom, the absence of Takis, the tight end as a receiver in the middle of the field, really limiting what BC's been able to do.
I think this is 4th down territory unless they get another big loss on a sack. Garwo stays the running back. Djokovic dumps it off. Zay Flowers, nifty move to stay on his feet, stay in bounds, and get the first down at the 22.
And this looked like he would be tackled short of the first down, but the quick feet. They talk about short space quickness. That's short space quickness right there.
Good pocket this time for Djokovic. Now he's forced away. Fires dangerously over the middle, and he got away with it. Intended for Flowers, but there were 2 Tigers right there.
Yeah, That's a dangerous throw. Coming into the game, 6 interceptions. I mean, I get that you're trying to make a play, but the defense won on this. It's only a 3-man rush. They're dropping 8. So there's really nowhere to throw the ball. Throw it away. You try to throw that thing back across your body to the middle of the field. More times than not, something bad happens.
On 2nd and 10. Jurkovec forced back again, hit as he throws, and it flutters incomplete. Ruka applying the pressure that time, and Jalen Phillips, the Clemson safety, was nearest to catching that one.
Yeah, here's a He's going to come right inside here and get the pressure. They're bringing pressure from the outside. That's picked up pretty well by the back, Garmo. But a just right there. The quarterback, no way you can protect yourself in that position. I think you're still talking about 4-down territory here. You got to try to get half of that yardage back here. Something out of your hands quickly before that pressure gets there.
They try to throw a middle screen, and Xavier Thomas put the pressure on it, and a almost picked it off.
Well, a middle screen is okay against the right coverage, but that was a robber coverage. So the safety, Jalen Phillips, was actually coming right down into that area and read it all the way. Even if it's complete, it's going to be tackled immediately.
Connor Litton 1 for 2 in field goals. 39-yard try, and it's blocked. 4th block kick this year by Clemson. Only Central Michigan has blocked more. They blocked 2 punts now and 2 field goals.
Hard to tell exactly who got it, but it came from the inside. Might have been a row. Yeah, 30. No, he was in there. Wasn't him.
Etiosa Rubin.
32
who got it. Backup defensive tackle from Kansas City, Missouri. Josh DeBerry is back in the game for Boston College. Uyunglele under pressure, finds Davis Allen at midfield. And he's down at the 46 of Boston College, tackled by Jaden Woodby.
Davis Allen, the tight end, both tight ends on the same side of the field. Somehow a breakdown in coverage. Nobody picks up Allen. And again, the courageous throw by DJ under duress, knowing he had an open man on the sideline.
25-yard gain. And under 3 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Controlled by Clemson. Couple of fakes, and finally Uyunglele throws it away. He looked at Maffa a couple times. Seemed pretty determined not to throw him the ball.
Well, I don't think he was open. And, you know, sometimes, again, the defense wins, and you throw it out of bounds. You don't avoid, you avoid a bad play, a negative play. And you play the next down, 2nd and 10.
Clemson leading 17-3. Trying to extend the nation's longest winning streak to 12 games. Antonio Williams. Jake Brenningstool, the tight end, blocking out in front. Vinny DePalma the stop. Williams lost the helmet. Will have to go out.
Really nice block by Bo Collins, too, the other wide receiver out there. They've not had much success on those wide screens, but that time they got the block. And remember, as Molly reported, Elijah Jones, who's done such a good job tonight defending those plays, not in the ball game anymore for BC at corner.
Clemson trying to beat Boston College for the 12th straight game. BC hasn't won in this rivalry since 2010 here at the Heights. Fake to Maffa. Uyunglele inside the 30 and dragged down by Bryce Steele, the linebacker, a sophomore from Raleigh, North Carolina. Gain of 12.
Little different formation. 2 tight ends right here stacked. And And they're going to take Davis Allen, the best blocker, and he's the lead blocker. This is a design run all the way, and he follows Davis Allen right for the first down.
Kicked out Cam Arnold. Clemson on the move again, taking control here in the third quarter. 1st and 10 at the Boston College 29. Maffa. First down, and knocked out of bounds near the 10 by Cole Batson. And spotted near the 12-yard line. Another first down. They're back in the red zone.
This is where you're going to start to see the depth advantage that Clemson has begin to wear down this BC team. The defense played so well in the first half. Not able to keep it up here in the second half as much.
Uyunglele stopped. We've talked about third down. Another area that the offense coordinator Brandon Streeter told us they want to improve on a lot in the offseason was the red zone.
Yeah.
They've been here. This is the third time. The previous 2, a field goal and a touchdown. So all 30 times this year they've been in the red zone, they've come away with points.
Defensive coordinator Tem Lakubu told us that at this point, at the 13-yard line and in, the quarterback run becomes a big part of what they want to do in the red zone.
At the last minute, he slings it to Williams, who lowers his shoulder and took a hit. In a hard-hitting game, this Boston College defense has been physical, to say the least. That was Jason Maitre on the stop. They don't have to snap it again. It looks like they will choose to do just that and take it to the fourth quarter. Clemson leading 17-3 here at Boston College. ESPN's presentation of college football on ABC. We'll return after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Yeah, I'm up on the cloud, ain't coming back down. Yeah, I'm up on the cloud, ain't coming back down. I got a good feeling. I got a good feeling.
And Clemson has a good feeling after that third quarter when they took control of the game. They lead 17-3 now, looking for more. First play of the fourth quarter, 3rd down and 8 at the BC 10. DJ Uyunglele to the end zone, a wide open Bo Collins.
Well, first of all, DJ Uyunglele did a great job with his eyes. He moved the free safety looking at Davis Allen. He's going to look here first and watch this safety go with the eyes, and then that opens that area up. DJ's looking left. The safety reads his eyes and vacates the middle, and then he finds Collins right there in the open area for the touchdown.
His 5th touchdown already this season in game number 6. He had a touchdown reception in each of the first 4 games this season. The first player to do that for Clemson since Sammy Watkins back in 2011 have a touchdown catch in each of the first 4. That's good company.
Yeah.
Kick off your Week 5 NFL Sunday at 10 a.m. tomorrow with the Countdown crew on ESPN, the app, including bottom left, proud Boston College quarterback Matthew Hasselbeck. And then Monday Night Football. Raiders off their first win under Josh McDaniels last week over Denver, trying to knock off the Chiefs, who are 3-1. Great rivalry game, 8 p.m. Eastern. The Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. Anytime you can watch Mr. Mahomes, that's worth the price of admission. A.T. Potter to kick off. Might as well try it. Here comes Jalen Gill. And he's dragged down at the 24-yard line by Keith McGuire. Well, it's been a very sad week around college football, particularly here in the ACC. The officials here tonight wearing the Z on the side of that hat. That is in memory of longtime referee Tom Zamorski, who for the last decade has been a replay official. Very well liked and respected man who was the replay official at Clemson last week for NC State and the Tigers, and as he was leaving the stadium suffered a fatal heart attack at the age of 75. Our condolences to his wife of 51 years, Carol, their 2 daughters, Sarah and Jill. He was a very well liked and well respected man. Xavier Coleman, the ball carrier, one of those guys. We had a game. He was the replay official. It was always nice to say hello. Long time involved in high school athletics in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Very, very sad.
Sean, similar to last week, what has happened in this game is in the second half, Clemson's defensive line has started to take over the game. You know, they did it last week against NC State, and they're doing it again tonight against Boston College.
Time for Djokovic, and he just airmailed his receiver. Well, that's not the fault of the offensive line. And that's another thing the coaching staff has tried to impart on Djokovic. And you have to take your share of the responsibility too. Now, obviously, he's been under duress, but Jaden Williams is wide open.
And being accurate throwing the football is about footwork. It has more to do with your feet and your feet being in proper position than your arm. And that time it was just bad footwork by Djokovic, and he wasn't able to make the completion on an easy throw.
On 3rd down and 11, Djokovic backpedaling, got it off to Zay Flowers. His 7th catch of the night. He's down short of the 1st down. Xavier Thomas put the pressure on. We had a chance to visit with Zay Flowers. Jeff Hafley said he lights up every room. He is the 11th of 14 children from South Florida. There's a great article by Pete Thamel earlier this week on ESPN.com. You should find it if you didn't read it. He was offered through intermediaries hundreds of thousands of dollars if he would go into the transfer portal and transfer to another school.
Clemson, they're first. 30 seconds.
And he said no. And his dad's a truck driver. He lost his mom more than a decade ago. 14 kids in the family. And Zay Flowers said, no, Boston College gave me the opportunity. I love this school. It's important to me and my dad that I get my degree here. And he elected to stay. So we asked Zay in our meeting yesterday, so is your dad going to be at the game? He said, no, the plane ticket's too expensive. Doesn't that say all about the decision he made? About loyalty, you talk about Wells Crowther, the lessons learned. Men and women for others. Motto here at Boston College. He is a really impressive young man.
Said his dad came on the visit here with him and said, I'm not going on any more visits. This is where you're going to go to school.
Yeah, that was a great story. He said, I had some other planned visits. My dad came with me. As soon as he saw this campus, he met the people. He said, this is where you're going to college. If you want to go on other visits, you're going without me. And Zay is very glad his dad helped him wind up at the right place for him. 13:25 to go. Back on the campus of Boston College, Will Shipley has a lot of supporters here tonight. He had 22 tickets for the game. His family's here, a lot of friends. And he'll be perhaps taking a handoff from a new quarterback. The very highly touted freshman Cade Klubnik is in, getting some reps with Clemson, leading 24-3. So it's likely the night is over for DJ Uiagalelei.
They had 131 yards of offense at halftime and more than that in the 3rd quarter.
You think the Shipleys are having a good time? That's his mom there in the jean jacket. Ship happens, I believe the shirt reads. And that's to her right, brother James. And Will Shipley told us yesterday they are extremely close. There's the dad, also James, mom Tammy. James Shipley, the youngster, is an excellent lacrosse player at Penn. And Will said he makes it to almost every game that James Shipley plays. He's 22 months older, is James. good midfielder and a very good Penn lacrosse team. Klubnik, the ball carrier, and DeBerry made the tackle. Second team All Ivy League last year. They are a family of achievers. I don't think anybody's going thirsty in their section tonight either. Uyunglele is back in now for this 3rd down and 8. Running the clock down. Uyunglele dancing up into the pocket, and a low throw intended for Brandon Spector. And Will gave us a good scouting report on James Shipley, because we asked him, James, when he plays across, like to run over people like you? He said, no, he's more shake and bake. Yeah. You saw that he and his mom with the good dance moves across the field. They have to be so proud, James of his brother and Tammy of her son. He is a very impressive. We talk to college football players every week. He's one of the most impressive we've spoken with.
Yep. Full of energy, full of life, passion for the game. Great leader, great teammate.
Getting better and better all the time, which is scary for the opponents. Swanson's punt. Flowers backed away from it, thought about trying to catch it on the bounce, and then thought better of that. 47-yard punt. A lot of shake and bake in the Shipley family. 24-3 Tigers, 4th quarter.
Saturday Night Football on ABC is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
The annual Red Bandana game here on the campus of Boston College, honoring Wells Crowther, who lost his life September 11, 2001 in the World Trade Center during the terrorist attacks, as he kept racing up and down flights of stairs to help other people to safety, running back into the building and up the stairs. BC down 24-3. Xavier Coleman finally thrown down from behind by Jeremiah Trotter. Kind of threw him down with disgust, as if to say, okay, that's far enough of that run.
And Coleman getting some playing time tonight because of the injuries to Alex Broom and Cam Barfield. 2 backs ahead of him on the depth chart. Played late in the game against Florida State and showed some flashes to the coaches as well.
He did well in the blowout. He stays in there to block, and it's not enough. And then Jakovic lost the ball. He's slow to get up. Jeremiah Trotter knocked it out, and Peyton Page recovered for the Tigers.
Trotter comes around on a blitz, and nobody picks him up. The back got the safety. Watch, the back's going to get the outside man. Here's Trotter. He's going to come inside, unabated to the quarterback. Gets a hit. Knocks the ball out. And Peyton Page recovers. And again, just a relentless pursuit of the football and the quarterback here by Clemson's defense in the second half. They've taken over the game with their defensive pressure.
Like Barrett Carter got the hand in there to knock it out. Part of that pressure with Jeremiah Trotter. If you're wondering, Jeremiah is the son of the 4-time Pro Bowler, 12-year NFL player, same name. Uyunglele's pass deflected by Chris Banks.
You know, Sean, we told that story about Zay Flowers and visiting here with his dad and how he knew that that was the place he was going to go. A very similar story with our own Molly McGrath. She grew up in the Bay Area. The only college she visited outside the state of California was here at BC. Fell in love with the campus and the feel, and she came here as a cheerleader.
And if there was NIL back then, there would have been other schools trying to get her to come away to their campus.
Right.
Phil Maffa, the ball carrier. Chris Banks, another play for the Boston College defense. Well, there's Molly McGrath a little more than a decade ago. She hasn't changed a bit.
It does look like they took the picture yesterday.
I can't cover a BC game without you guys pulling out my old cheerleading pictures, but I will say this is a really special place. I had the same moment that Zay Flowers had. I was looking over at the campus at the top of the $1 million staircase, and I said, I'm done. I don't need to look anywhere else. This is home for me. So it's always really special coming back here and being on the field again.
They're very proud to have you as an alum, as they should be. Uyunglele taken down from behind by Donovan Izaraku. Very energetic defensive end.
I'll tell you, the other reason Molly's excited to always come back here is because she got a giant bag of swag from the BC people when we were at our meetings. We didn't get anything. Oh yeah, giant bag full of gear and all kind of stuff. Sweatshirts, shorts, shoes.
I'm going to have to check my bags now. That's the only unfortunate part of that, but it's worth it. Anything to support the Eagles.
And as we say in the media, if it's free, I'll take 3. BT Potter on for the field goal, and it's no good. Just his second miss of the season. Wide left from 42 yards. 9.5 to go. Maybe Molly will do a cheer for us when we come back.
Kevin Agati in studio time now for our Mayhem moment, brought to you by Allstate. How about this? Jamal Johnson, Bowling Green. Looks like he's stopped just short of the goal line here. Watch out now. Here comes James Patterson for Buffalo. They strip it. He's got a convoy. His twin brother, Jared, a star with the Bulls back in the day, now with the Commanders. And Patterson goes to the house. Buffalo wins 38-7, Sean.
All right, Kevin, thank you. Here at Boston College, there's a new quarterback. Emmett Moorhead has come in for Phil Jakovic. He handed the ball off to Xavier Coleman. Moorhead's a redshirt freshman from Woodside, California. He's played in 2 games previous to this one, at Virginia Tech and at Florida State, when they were getting roughed up in both of them. Jakovic looks to be okay on the sideline.
Yeah, I think he just took a number of hits today, and a chance for Jeff Hafley to take a look at the younger quarterback. Particularly in the second half, I mean, this Clemson defense just started to light them up. That was the last hit. Trotter and Barrett Carter knocking the ball loose.
They're high on Moorhead. He's 6'5", 228. And John McNulty, the offensive coordinator, told us yesterday, he has a big arm, and he also gets the ball out very quickly. Good presence in the pocket. That's a good-looking throw there, and it is caught.
What a catch
by Dino Tomlin, who is the son of the Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin. Beautiful catch, his 3rd of the year.
We kind of used the defender's helmet, Makuba, to keep the ball alive. Went up with one hand, and just great concentration to come down with the football.
32-yard play on the completion to Tomlin. Redshirt junior, as you might expect, from Pittsburgh, out of Shadyside Academy. Garwo driven back by Trey Williams. Matter of fact, with all the offensive line trouble, some have suggested to John McNulty, why don't you just go empty and, throw the ball very quickly out of the shotgun. That's not really Jakovic's strength. He said if we played Moorhead, we could do that more frequently, because he's adept at that. 3-star recruit, according to ESPN, coming out of high school. Trying to get after him, and his pass incomplete. Off the hands of Tomlin again. Jeff Hafley brought in John McNulty this year. Frank Cignetti was the offense coordinator last year. He got offered the job at Pittsburgh. And Mark Willard left. Mark Whipple left, pardon me. And he couldn't pass it up. Pittsburgh's home for Coach Cignetti. Under duress and down. Xavier Thomas again after Moorhead.
Well, as if Clemson needed help with another defensive lineman. Xavier Thomas, welcome back to this Clemson defense. Just speed rush to the outside, too much for the left tackle. Xavier Thomas, who has not played at all this year. They were hoping to get him some reps. He's got a big smile on his face and a couple quarterback pressures for the evening.
All of a sudden, 4 sacks for their team.
Yep.
Longman punts. And Taylor the fair catch. Welcome back to the senior, Xavier Thomas. Playing without Brian Brzee, they just roll the next man in and continue to thrive. Help people affected by Hurricane Ian. Donate at redcross.org/ESPN if you're able. Help the Red Cross prepare for, respond to, and help people recover from this disaster. Your donation will provide people and communities affected by this devastating storm with food, shelter, relief supplies, recovery planning, and other assistance. Total damage now being estimated at more than $67 billion. Please go to redcross.org/ESPN, where the pictures are hard to look at, especially if you know some of those spots, what they looked like before Ian. Film off of the ball carrier. Uyunglele might be done for the night, but they put him back in there. There's Brandon Spector, a prominent Clemson family. His dad Robbie played there, and brother Balin was a starting linebacker the last couple of years for the Clemson Tigers. 24-yard play.
Not sure I understand this. You're winning 24-3. There's 5 minutes left. Not only are you throwing, you're going hurry up. You're going with tempo.
Yep. Uyunglele runs out of bounds.
Dabo said going off at halftime he thought BC outplayed them in the first half. They've clearly outplayed BC here in the second half.
Dabo's had a couple of nice trips here to the great city of Boston in the last few months. He told us when we visited earlier in the week that he was here with his sons. They go on a trip every year. They came here in the spring, went to Fenway Park, saw a Red Sox Angels game, and saw a Celtics playoff game at the TD Garden.
It's a good trip.
It really is. Mike Trout gave him a bat. They went in the Angels locker room. Joe Madden, then the manager, had Dabo speak to the team. So they had a great time. I think Hafley's a little annoyed by what's happening to the hurry up and launching it down the field. Was he looking at the Clemson people saying, what are you doing, or talking to his own players, though? That would be my question. I don't think he was yelling loud enough to have it go all the way across the field. DJ off to the races. Uyunglele stumbled as he tried to cut inside from the oncoming defender, Amari Jackson, who's probably really happy he didn't actually have to run into that big man at full speed.
Well, again, his running ability, an added dimension to this offense. He's not the fastest, he's not the shiftiest, but he's a very effective runner.
That's the longest run of his career, 40 yards. That's 4 straight games that he's rushed for at least 50 yards. The last quarterback to do that at Clemson was Deshaun Watson back in 2015, when he finished the year with 9 straight games of 50 yards or more rushing. Uyunglele to the end zone, and Spector has a touchdown. "13 yards on the touchdown pass. Uyunglele to Spector, redshirt junior from Calhoun, Georgia.
Clemson keeping their foot on the gas. Nice route by Spector. We saw Bo Collins catch one in the same part of the end zone. Uyunglele, great touch over the linebacker's head, right into the hands of Spector. In a game that was, for a long time, 3-3, is all of a sudden a much different feel and a much different score. About to go up 31-3.
clearly determined to score again. That's 4 times in the red zone and 4 scores for Clemson. Do you have a problem with that?
No, I don't have a problem. I question it a little bit. I was surprised. I was a little surprised, but you know, again, Dabo felt like in the first half they did not play very well. I think he wanted to assert himself on the road and
maybe try to establish something, you know, get more crisp on offense to take it forward. We do live in this era now of polls and deciding who's going to be in the college football playoff. And you know, the reality is they are very much back in the conversation after a year out of the playoff last year. They've been in 6 times in the first 8 years, and they've already played some of the hardest games on their schedule.
And the reality is, I mean, if you're on the BC side, I mean, you know, the game's not over. If they're going to keep playing, you got to keep defending. Right. You know, they've got their guys in, you got your guys in. And
as many coaches have said to the other coach who complained, you're running up, it's your job to keep the score down, not mine. But I would think if they get the ball back, there would be a different philosophy. Now I think this might be directed at Clemson. I think he's looking across the field now, Coach Hafley. Because it was, what are you doing again? And this time it didn't look like he was speaking the direction of any of his players. It's a touchback, and here's Kevin Nagandi.
Sean, here's what's happening elsewhere over on ESPN. The Mets trying to keep their season alive. They're up 3-2 in the 7th against the Padres. And meanwhile, there's an update. It's 5-2 as we speak. A live update moments ago. The Mets up by 3 runs. Phillies up by 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th against the Cardinals. The chance to end St. Louis's season. And Florida State up by 4 against NC State. Start of the 4th quarter on the ACC network. Back to you.
Florida State and Clemson next week. That's in Tallahassee. .422 to go. Still Emmett Moorhead, the backup, in at quarterback. And Coleman is the running back.
Moorhead from an athletic family. His dad played football and was on the crew team at Princeton. His mom played basketball there. Good-looking athlete, as you said earlier, 6'5", 228.
Good academic genes as well. BC in no hurry. But Jeff Hafley said, you know, this is still a work in progress. There's not a lot of talent. Everywhere we go, we see 50-year seniors, 60-year seniors.
Right.
You know, at Boston College, there wasn't a lot left behind by the previous coaching staff that would be upperclassmen now. So you know, they're playing for the most part with younger players than we typically see week to week. But they are noticeably making progress in recruiting. Coleman, the ball carrier again. And Jeff said, you know, we'll have our struggles, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if we knock off a team or two people don't think we can beat. And I think based on what we saw tonight in flashes, they're good enough to do that.
Yeah, and as we talked to Jeff about it, he even said, you know, our margin for error is very slim. And they knew that coming into a game like this against Clemson. And they had some opportunities. A missed field goal early. They were in the red zone a couple times, couldn't get the ball in the end zone. And that's tough if you don't capitalize when you have opportunities, especially against a team as good as Clemson.
It looked like Clemson got a little more serious out of the locker room to start the second half. Coleman again, Wade Woodaz, a backup linebacker, made the tackle.
Talk about Clemson, where they go from here to Tallahassee next week will be another big game, a big test on the road. Syracuse, who's playing very well, and then at Notre Dame.
Yeah, they've knocked off Wake Forest and NC State already, but still plenty of challenges ahead, including next Saturday night, and that will be ABC primetime again for the 3rd week in a row. Dabo, DJ, and the Tigers on ABC college football in prime time. Coleman ahead for a first down. We'll go under 2 minutes to go. Carson Donnelly, deep backup graduate student out of Birmingham, Dabo Sweeney's hometown, made the tackle.
And one thing Dabo does as much, and if not more than anybody in college football, is play people. You know, I'd be surprised if there are very many, if any, guys on that sideline right now that have not been on the field for at least a couple reps. You can only travel so many in any conference, ACC no exception, but I guarantee you he'll get as many of those guys in the game as he can.
They're in pursuit of Coleman, and a nice tackle. Jaden Lucas, true freshman. Nice play.
A lot of team speed on this Clemson defense, even when you get down to the backup level.
So Clemson will win its 12th straight, extending the nation's longest winning streak. It's also 12 straight wins over Boston College. The last BC win in 2010. They'll go to 6-0 for the 7th time in the last 8 years. The only time they missed that was last year when they started 4-3. They were struggling to score in those first 7 games last year. They averaged 20 points per game. Since then, the 6 straight wins last year, now 6 to start this year, they've averaged just under 37 points per game. Offense much improved, although it sputtered for a lot of the night tonight. Boston College elects not to snap it again. Interesting to see if Jeff Hafley truly was a little agitated by that last drive, if there's anything said on the handshake. And Dabo might be explaining those last couple of minutes. And Molly is with Dabo Sweeney.
Coach, what was just said between you and Jeff Hafley?
Oh man, just told them to get healthy. You know, they got it. They get healthy. They're going to be tough down the stretch. Got a good group for sure.
With the big lead late, you kept your quarterback DJ Uiagalelei in the game. You kept your foot on the gas. Why did you feel it was important to do that?
Well, we just didn't feel we played well. You know, we just wanted to finish with a little bit of rhythm. You know, and I thought we finished well. It was good. You know, it was tough sledding tonight, but you know, good finish for the guys, and hopefully a good momentum. You know, going into next week. Really proud of our defense. What a great game. Did some good things in special teams as well. We blocked a kick, had a good return, made a kick or two, but I thought Aiden Swanson outside of one did a nice job for us. So, you know, this is not an easy place to play. Never has been, and that's a tough bunch over there. So got a lot of respect for Coach Hafley and his group. So we're proud of our guys for how they finished.
What kind of fight and physicality did you see out of your D-line tonight?
Well, they were awesome, and you know, we were able to win that matchup. We got some pressure on the quarterback. Tried to contain number 4 the best we could and not let them get anything going in the run game. So I thought we did a nice job. Good to get Xavier Thomas back. So he showed up. I think he had a couple sacks. So proud of him. It was a big moment for him to be able to play. And then, you know, to get the turnover that we needed in the second half was big.
12th straight win, longest active winning streak in the country. What's been the difference for your team during this streak?
Just one day at a time, one game at a time. You know, we, for the most part, have won the turnover margin. We've been even or better. That's a big part of it. We've been able to, I think, outrush our opponent. I think that's the first time since I've been the head coach that we've outrushed the opponent 10 straight games. So, you know, it starts there. You know, we've been better in the trenches, and it really starts how we finished last year. That group, somehow, some way, we won 6 in a row to finish, and that gave us good momentum into the offseason. And these kids have battled hard, you know, to keep it going to this point. But, you know, 6 games don't make a season. We got a long way to go and a lot to improve on tonight.
All right, thank you, Coach. Congrats. Sean.
And he's right about that stat. It is the first time since he's been the head coach they've outrushed the opponent in 10 straight games. And I think a satisfying explanation about the end of the game, kind of what we speculated on. They were a little sluggish. Let's get this a little better with an eye toward the future. Oh, a special night here at Boston College. Allison Crowther here as they honored her remarkable son. A legacy that lives on continuing to help others through the charitable trust. Final score, Clemson 31 and Boston College 3. For Molly McGrath, Todd Blackledge, and our crew, Sean McDonough, good night from Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts.